Hello everyone. So pardon the noise, as I always say whenever I film in this room. I am in a different room this morning. I seem to be feeling really tired and fussy at the moment, which currently means I'm feeling really frustrated with like every sense of touch and sensory experience, and I'm also having a hard time sitting still and just focusing on what I need to get done today and so on and so forth. So like I'm in a different room and like traffic is loud outside. Hopefully it doesn't interfere too much with the sound quality of this recording. Possible slight spoiler depending on how much I end up choosing to talk about this, but part of the reason I am sensory overwhelmed is because I went to an event the other day and got this signed, and it kind of blew my mind. So I'm still processing listening to John Robb talk about his book. And yeah, so that was a couple days ago and I'm still kind of like half dead. Maybe not quite undead, but half dead. Speaking of death though, I decided it would be really fun today to just do like the first fun video I've done in ages. Like obviously I think all the topics I cover are fun, but I do understand that probably most other people don't find me a whole lot of fun. Which actually interestingly is going to be part of my response with this video. So I want to do, I guess this would be a VR rather than like a tag participation, but I want to do a VR to Lennan's idea around summoning, like she calls it summon me from the dead. And I'll provide a link to her video. I assume most of you are aware of it, but I'll provide a link to her video in the description box. And she has a worksheet that you can download to sort of fill out the prompts and things, and it was really, really fun to do. So I currently have mine on my tablet with like, of course I'm me, so I put in like blood red lettering and all that kind of thing, just to like extra glam it up. And I want to answer the prompts to Lennan's Summon Me from the Dead video / worksheet, because I thought it would be so much fun to do it. And it's amazing, when I was watching her video, I had like immediate answers to like a lot of the things that she was saying. So this is just going to be me being my own sort of deathy, nerdy self. I suppose I should say ahead of time, maybe just be somewhat aware that in addition to rather macabre sensibilities, I also, like, there may be mention of things like stages of decomposition and things in this video. It's just a reality on my channel, so I will try to provide disclaimers and things, or content warnings if they're necessary, or if people feel they're necessary, and so on, like as and when I'm able to think about it. But do remember that my lived perspective and the perspective I come from and communicate from doesn't tend to shy away at these topics a whole lot. So if that's the sort of thing that can trigger you, maybe just be aware of that. Okay. It's kind of cold this morning as well, but I like that because now I can like be as bundly as humanly possible. Look at me. Okay. Summon me from the dead. So straight off the bat, I want to talk a little bit about like how I approach this and how my perspective on these things kind of informed my really, for me, fun answers. Firstly, I am not particularly invested in almost any notion of afterlife of any kind whatsoever. Not because I feel that somehow it couldn't exist. I mean, I believe in a lot of, I partake in perspectives around a lot of, you know, maybe niche things and so on. So it's not so much that I don't have a sense of value about why opinions on afterlife would matter. But for me, it usually feels very much like it's evading the issue or not relevant. So I operate from a perspective, like for example, I've never in my life been afraid of death or dying. It doesn't scare me. I don't understand very well the impetus or the reasons behind being afraid of death. I understand being afraid of like the dying process being painful, for example. I understand being afraid of bereavement and grief, but those things, all forms of suffering, all forms of all that, from my perspective, are the province of the living. So I think there are many, many ways in which we as individuals and also collectively get really, really unhealthy in the way we approach death and different cultural perspectives on death and death planning and the rites around not just funerary practices, but bereavement and things. Like, I'm really, really, really gung-ho about nuancing all of those things and making sure that they're not taboo topics. I grew up in a household that, for various reasons I won't go into, did not allow me to even have the word death visible anywhere. So like, if I ever had a book where death was in the title, it was not allowed to be seen. It would be like, get that off the table, it has the D word on it. And it's like, interestingly enough, I'm the only member of my family, except recently, that ever had, you know, loved ones pass on really suddenly and so on and so forth. So like, I know this is a very dark way to start this video out, but basically I'm a big believer in the fact that, or I'm a big proponent, I should say, of the fact that death is a fun, whatever it ends up being once you pass to the other side or whatever, is even if it's reincarnation, it's whatever it is what it is. And everybody has to do it. And everyone who is mortal will die. So for me, the notion of summoning me from the dead or whatever, I don't feel invested in the notion that there would be any leftover entity that is me afterwards. And certainly if I have mental agency after I'm dead, I'm probably going to be pretty annoyed and disappointed about that, because I can only handle one lifetime as this. It's an intense way to be. So, you know, I would like a break, and preferably a permanent one once, you know, the time comes. So I don't necessarily partake in the perspective that I am summonable, or that if I was, I would want to show up. So most of this is approached from the perspective of, you can summon me, but I reserve the right not to show up. I might even show up and take a glance and go, yeah, nah, a bit like a cat, I suppose. Be kind of like, no, and then just turn away. You know, so it's all with the caveat of like, if I feel like it, you better make a good case for it, kind of thing. I'm prickly in real life. I'm going to be prickly in death. Let's put it that way. Okay, so summon me from the dead. If you wanted to have like your best chances, your best possibility of doing so, I'll start with, I'm going to read like on the page, like across the prompts, I guess. So season. Probably any season, to be honest. It depends on the need and on the person and on the circumstances and so on and so forth. But you would stand the best chances in autumn or winter. I really love, it's a slight problem of mine, I love wandering in the frost. The midwinter video that I made, I think last year, with poetry and so on from my astral realm and all that, obviously features like a lot of plant material, like covered in that glittering layer of frost. I love it so much that actually when I came out of that wandering where I had taken my camera along to kind of film all those clips, I realized I actually scared some people, because I came down off this hill out of that dense fog, and I had gotten disoriented in the fog, and I asked this poor couple, like, how do I get out? You know, I was like, what side of this hill am I on? I can't see anything. And they were looking at me really strange, and after they were like, oh no, you are in the right, like you do know where you are, it's right there, you're correct, you know. After I moved on, I kind of went to brush my hair and I realized my hair had frozen. I had like whole locks of my hair that were actually also frosted, like the vegetation I had been filming. So the reason they were giving me this weird look is this like random American wanders down out of the mist going like, where am I? What century? Ice in her hair, and they're like, you know. Anyway, so autumn or winter, cold and fresh and crisp. Yes. Okay, time of day. Another thing about me, wee early hours. Now, if it's in the summer, this will inevitably be earlier in the morning. If it's in the winter, you have a little bit more grace in the morning, as it were. Basically, I am most likely to show up in the moment of shifting light. So from darkness into more official daylight and dawn, I start to lose my appreciation of that sense of time of day as soon as you can start to see enough sky blue reflected off of the grass under your feet. So if you're out for a walk in a field somewhere and the grass is starting to actually acquire some of that sky blue tinge, that's when I'm no longer interested. So I like to start in darkness and just sort of experience the fresh, crisp potential of morning. So I regularly rise, say at this time of year, around 5:30, and spend at least an hour or so in darkness before I have to like confront the daytime. So again, you'll notice there's a theme here of like, it's gonna be a bit tricky to summon me, because I'm very introverted and I'm not too into being summoned. But I do like the whole, what would it be? So like, you'd have to wake up early, get yourself up. Day of the week. The day that I and my two sisters, so all three of us, the day we were all born on, Wednesday. Summon me on a Wednesday. It's always been my favorite day. I remember it being my favorite day in high school, and I don't even know if I'd realized at the time the birthday connection. Let's see, where am I? Outdoor or indoor? Actually, to be honest, either one works. Because the key here is that crisp morning, hopefully colder air quality. Interestingly, like I have a bunch of like windows behind me here, right? This is like a beveled window kind of situation that I'm sitting in right now. And the curtains actually on the windows are old antique bed sheets. Again, I think each one costs me like, I think one of them technically costs like 40 euro, but they all cost about 20 to 30 usually, these sorts of old sheets. And none of them match, by the way. That's, you see different laces on the bottom and things like that. So this sort of like situation where I'm in like a room that's cold, that has a sort of a, not a harsh white light, but like a clean, is how I often think of it, like a clear, crisp, clean light filtering in, where the atmosphere has that like early morning when the cup of coffee is like maybe just about to be brewed or just starting to be brewed, and like things haven't gone shit yet for the day. You can tell I'm autistic. Like no one's bullied you yet. You don't have to go to school yet. You're safe still and you're well rested and the world is still quiet. That kind of air quality when it's indoors. My grandparents had one of those like glass-bound porches, window-bound porches, on the back of their house when I was growing up. And I remember being like 6 years old and getting up really early in the morning before our massive extended family was awake. I have many cousins and things on that side, Irish. And so I'd get like time to myself in the morning. And I remember being like 6 years old, freezing cold in these like hand crocheted blankets with like a giant antique like chicken lamp next to me, but like in the cold in winter in this like unheated porch, being like, I'm safe from like the world. So, you know, that if it's indoors, that sort of thing. If it's outdoors, again, time of day, preferably colder temperatures. That's the deal. Elemental representation was actually fun to think about because I realized I had slightly more specific associations than I even thought in a way. So for air, corvid feathers, I know there's been like a few posts. Tiny Witch had a post about this a little while ago. I know Mixtress Ray and Dolores over at, oh god, Night Song Cauldron Cards, is it still called? They've been doing a thing where it's like in September, bring your altar with you kind of thing. Have magic will travel. And so there's this sort of thing at the moment where people are talking a bit more about like what's in their bag and all that kind of thing. And I always have corvid feathers in my bag. I collect them like when I see them. There are so many crows around here that I never have to wait very long before I see one that's totally collectible. But I also sometimes forget that they're there. So I've been in like the grocery store reaching for my wallet and accidentally like pull out a bunch of crow feathers from my bag. So air, corvid feathers. Earth, pretty smooth and cold palm stones. Basically like my sensory joy, all my sensory toys that I keep in my bag, for example, as well, like those old like 1980s glitter wands and like my fidget spinner are all cold to the touch. They're cooling on the hands. And they're very, very smooth. And I feel the same about like when you pick up a palm stone off of your altar or whatever, and it's like fresh and cold. Can you tell when I get flustered, I get heated? So I need like things that are comforting and soothing to the face or soothing on the hands and so on are smooth, like almost like a worry stone, cold surfaces. So for earth, I tend to really enjoy holding as a grounding technique various palm stones. I have my story stone, as you guys know. I have various stones like that that look to me like sea foam. So something that's pretty smooth and cold, and a stone. Fire, a painted egg, because in my head on the inside of eggs is like embryonic flames that are comfortable and developmental and like the spark, but also the safe place, like a cozy flame inside an egg. So for some reason for me, fire, I was like, oh, painted eggs, obviously. And then water, red wine. Like a liquid component, give me some red wine. Love it. Okay, props. What would you use, say, I don't think this is actually, is this sort of like more like offering? Yeah, there is a gift section later for which I have actually a somewhat similar answer. But in terms of props for like during the magical working rather than something you're gonna literally then like leave with me, would be a lock of my hair for those who have some. I have loads of my hair because I have a lot. I don't know if you guys notice, but I usually have it like behind me in videos. Like there's a lot of this going on. I have a lot of hair. So like whenever I comb my hair or brush my hair, I save the bits and I keep it in the Skullstein in my studio or slash witchy room. This is actually kind of a flat hair day, interestingly enough. And I've also given locks of my hair in letters to people. There's actually, I think it's technically somewhere in Dublin, but there is a letter, like an envelope somewhere that has a lock of my hair from when I was in my 20s in it. And in addition to that being obviously like a very 19th century kind of token of affection, part of the reason I really love that is because I've seen a lock of Emily Dickinson's hair, redhead, bright red hair, and that was one of the most alchemical moments in my life, being in an archive and the person presenting a lock of Emily Dickinson's hair in the letter envelope in which it was housed, and just saying to us students, look, she's in color. It was one of the coolest moments ever. So a lock of my hair for sure. But also when I was a kid, I had what I called my collection of breakable things, which was all like kids' glass globes and like, you know, those little like, you know, baby wolves inside a snow globe. And then the mama wolf is like around the outside of the snow globe, like all those sorts of knickknacks and things. But it also used to include the sorts of carved rainbow candles that you can get along the Jersey Shore. And it would also include like little trinkets and bits of jewelry and like old bookmarks and things. So like, I'm not exactly like a clutter enthusiast. I don't know if I'm the most maximalist of maximalists, but I definitely love me like a little, like not overly cartoony or saccharine, but like something that has a little bit of a childhood tinge of melancholy to it. That's also like kind of crystalline or breakable or delicate. Little glass boxes and things like that. Like the sorts of things you would find in your attic that would make you sad to see because the person who they belong to is now dust. Something like that. I'll leave a link to a video I made about like attics and things, and also my understanding around like death and decay and melancholy, and actually archiving as well, and rare books librarianship. Link somewhere. Okay, music. Something with an English horn, ironically enough, I suppose, because I live in Ireland. Something in English horn and in a minor key. If you need an example of such a thing, the Secret Garden soundtrack, when she's being driven over the moors to arrive at the manor house, that sort of thing. Very much of that time period and of that style and sort of mood of music. I have whole albums of this sort of thing. I often call it like quiescent music or solitude music. So if you want to summon me, you got to play something that's going to be enticing and is going to help me like feel relaxed and not bombarded by people's needs. So you have to kind of like semi-trick me into feeling comfortable. Crystals. I don't know, does this count as a crystal? Because I never even thought to look it up really, but carnelian, I don't know if you can tell. Can you even see like all of the carnelian all of the time? I've never met a carnelian that I didn't kind of want. I just don't buy it all. But this isn't even all my carnelian jewelry. I've got so much. I love that color. I love that kind of like vaguely madder, rusty red color juxtaposed against black. It's just my thing. Okay. Yeah. Oh, carnelian. I will gobble it up. Sacrifice. If you were to sacrifice something for me to arrive, this again is almost linked into the idea of gifts later, but I'll come back to that. But I would appreciate if you would sacrifice your, what I think of, I've mentioned this before in recent videos, what I think of as sloughed skins. If there's something that you need to shed, a burden, a worry, a toxic behavior that you're trying to let go of, you know, a connection with someone that you want to cut, an element of, I don't know, physical illness where you're like near recovery or something and you just want to make that last sort of symbolic step, any of those sorts of things, personal development wise, or just something totally magico-spiritual, slough that skin and give it to me, and either I will eat it or I will bring it back to the goddess and she will eat it. I will say that if I do feel that there's an afterlife, it would be in the sense that there's some speculation historically that like Tir na Nog in the land of the fairies and so on and so forth, the other world in Irish Celtic folkloric traditions is associated with the dead. There is definitely chucked in where the dead are said to go before they maybe go somewhere else, or maybe they're housed there, but it's not clear. Slough skins is what I'm trying to say. I'll either give it to herself or I will eat it myself on her behalf. Symbols and sigils. So this one's interesting. For those who do not know me in person, personally, something that bears resemblance to my logo, which is actually not currently visible on my YouTube channel, but it is on my website. But it's basically an egg shape with an S in it that has a raven's head. Something that bears resemblance to that. It doesn't have to be perfectly drawn or anything, but sketching, like if you're outside, drawing that in the dirt, or if you're inside, you know, on a piece of paper, or carving it into a candle, like however you would like, that would work. It's kind of a shorthand for me, and it bears resemblance to the initials in my true name, which is not my legal name, although at some point it will be. For those who do know me in person and have actually an awareness of what this looks like, show me a copy of my back tattoo, because it's my own art, and it is, I have a tattoo on my back that is on the left side to the back, and it's about the length of my rib cage, that I drew myself in college. So those of you who know what that looks like, show me that. Let's see, colors. So if you're like, I had a hard time with this one because I was like, it's just sort of what I like being around, I guess, which I don't know, again, if you can tell to look at me or at any of my spaces, like in my witchy room and so on. But I like, as I've mentioned in videos recently, black with jewel toned patterns and like leafy patterns, things on it. The thing I was calling Verger from Void. I love that. I like black with madder or rust colors juxtaposed against it, in addition to just jewel tones. And I also love me a good amount of black backdrop with a gold patterning on top. So black and gold, black and madder or rust colors, and black and jewel tones in alternating curvilinear shapes and patterns. So a good bet would be like a piece of fabric. You want to like wave a piece of fabric around to tempt me to show up, you know. Black with patterns, these are foxes. Anyway, Essential oil and candle scent. So this one's interesting. I actually opted more for a scent that I feel the most comfortable around, which is what I smell like, because I find most humans smell really, really, really oppressively strong to me, not because they themselves are smelly. I just have apparently a really sensitive sense of smell. Like if I'm on a bus and the windows are open on the bus and the bus turns or something like that, I will sense the smells of the people around me shifting. I don't like when people touch me, but I especially don't like when people are touching me if they're too close, not because they're trying to be creepy, just because they're too close, because I can also smell them. So in addition to the I'm autistic, don't fucking touch me thing, I'm also like, I can smell you. And if I can smell you, you're kind of too close, which actually would make most people need to stand really far away. But the point is, I'm weird about smells. So what I smell like is what I'm comfortable with. And that is a very lightweight presence, not too heavy, of fenugreek, rosemary, mint, and a little bit of lavender. Because that's what's in my hair oil that I make. So yeah, that's what I smell like if you were to get like really up close. It's not a lingering like perfumey smell. It is just a gentle smell, usually a little bit stronger in the morning if I've literally just oiled my hair kind of thing. Or at night or whatever. But I like those sort of gentle herbal smells. I'm really not a fruit and sugar kind of person. So I'm not like, or like anything saccharine. I don't care for it. So for me, it's like anything herbal. Oh my God. I will also show up, I just realized, for like peat fire smoke. Like if you're burning a peat fire in your house, I'll be there. And again, like, especially if those smells occur in like a crisp, cold environment with like freshly brewed coffee. Oh, I'd be your best friend, whatever that means. I don't actually know what that means, but best friend, I'd be that, whatever that is. Moon phase depends on what your associations are and what your needs are. That's more up to the individual summoner. Let's see, memorabilia. Or photos and so on. This one's interesting because I was like, not mine or anything. I would love to see other people's childhood photos. Like give me 1 or 2 photos of you as either like a little kid or like a toddler. I want to see all us weirdos when we were small. I know my kid photos are super quirky and people always go, oh my God, that is you. And you're so small. I think my nephew even said that one time when he first, like the first time he saw a photo of me when I was really little. He's like about to be 20 now. But yeah, one of my nephews was like, oh, you're so small. And I was like, yeah, but that you can tell it's me. And I love it when people show that, where you're like, this is me when I was little and this is me now. And you're like, oh, look at you. I really enjoy that. And especially in a community where people are a little on the weirder side or a little bit more on the niche side or whatever, I really enjoy seeing, like, you know, show me your like really embarrassing school photos or your like really weird quirky Halloween costume that your mom stitched for you last second or whatever. I'd love that kind of thing. That'll just totally get me like to show up out of curiosity alone. For outfit, like what you would be wearing, dress the most you that you would like. I am, as I think is clear on this channel, really, really, really gung-ho about people expressing themselves with their clothes, however they would like to do that. So however you feel most comfortable. If it's in a panda bear onesie, be in a panda bear onesie. If it's in parachute pants and a crop top, be in parachute pants and a crop top. If it's in a nightie or in, I don't know, literally anything, athleisure, pinstripe suit, whatever it is, wear it and be happy in it and be comfortable and feel agency in it. The only thing I would have a little bit of like about is like baby frickin' blue. Wear it if it's your favorite thing and I will appreciate that because I love it when people can appreciate something that I can't. But I'm weird about baby blue. More so than I am about baby pinks. I'm very weird about the color baby blue. It bugs the crap out of me for some reason. As a color. As a light quality, that's different. Light quality would be certain like yellow colors. Get weird. Okay. Do you need to be a blood relative? No. All right, gifts. So this is the one I was saying I was going to get it back around to, because for me, it's like if you want to leave something that you're going to leave with me, I suppose other than the sloth skin thing, which is a little bit more for like a direct interchange kind of purpose. If this is more going to be like, let's say now you're closing out your circle or whatever, and you want to leave a gift, like a token of thanks or something along those lines. Leave me a lock of your hair. That's what I would be most interested in. So either like the way they prepare it in letters, like a little piece bound around it so that it can hold together, or braided, or if you have really, really short hair or something, like set it in a ring or something. It can be a plastic ring, I don't mind, but like give me some of your hair. Don't do that in real life. Because I'm also like, I will also say that the thing that was really interesting thinking all this through is that I can't remember if it's in the book, but I know that in the 1990s version of Emma, there's a great line from Mr. Knightley, which is, "I don't approve of surprises. The pleasure's never enhanced and the inconvenience is considerable." And that's how I feel about presents and surprises. I'm like, I need to be involved in the process of something being given to me. Not necessarily hugely, but I do like to be asked, because I will say no if I don't want it. Because I don't want things in my space that I don't want, and I don't fake well. And I've also, even when I have faked enthusiasm for things, I've often been yelled at anyway. So I'm not a big proponent of like, oh, surprise, like, the worst. Also, you know, autistic, I like to know what I'm in for. So don't like send me your hair by surprise. But like, if I'm dead, you can thank me with some of your hair. Present it prettily and artistically or something. I suppose if you wanted to, you could give me some of your teeth, like your baby teeth. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, hair or baby teeth. How's that? Foods. So this one's hard for me because food is a weird topic for me. But if it's you eating the food, then bring whatever food you eat, I guess. But if it's me that's meant to like the food, like again, if we're almost thinking of this as offering and I'm supposed to like, whether I'm corporeal or not, which is the next thing I'm going to get to, if I'm supposed to consume it in some way, then go umami. I don't like sugar stuff. I don't put sugar in like anything willingly unless I'm literally baking something, and I don't eat cake and I don't like most pie and I hate ice cream and things like that. So like if I'm baking and it's sweet, it's like carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. And I am a cake snob. I used to work in a bakery for a while. So food wise, bring me like chicken chorizo jambalaya or sushi or hummus or like cheese and Herbie crackers and more red wine. Yeah, I'd eat those things. Bring me Cheetos, or if you're in the UK and Ireland, Whatsits. The crunchy ones, not the puffy ones. Bring me umami and crunch, or like fillingness, okay? Okay, so in terms of being corporeal, this one was really fun to think through because as an autistic / neurodivergent person, I have presented many faces to many different individuals authentically over the course of my life. There are some individuals in my experience who have periodically really almost given me no choice about what version of me comes to the fore. You know, so I'm thinking like if there are certain people I would have grown up around that when I see them, I kind of inevitably, whether I want to or not, manifest a little bit more like my 16-year-old self or whatever. Around my sisters, I am like, well, my sister, I am like just an absolutely batshit crazy noodle of a person. But that face doesn't get presented to so many people. Like she brings it out the most, and that's really fun. But there are situations where I'm out and about, I'm very much more sort of like the sort of stayed still version of myself and way less verbose even than I am on YouTube, which is already a very sort of masked and limited form of my own patterns of speech. So I was thinking about that. I was thinking about autistic masking. I was thinking about the many faces that we have, the multitudes that exist within. And I was thinking, okay, those are potential forms of embodiment. Like you might get the actual 16-year-old version of me, depending, the ghosts of my past. And as I have phrased it in poetry in the past, the ghosts of my poisoned dark familiars, being the many facets of the self. However, I therefore thought, well, once I'm dead, though, there's going to be further versions of myself. Because I want a natural burial. I do not want to be embalmed, for sure. And I don't want to be cremated either. I want to be, like, ideally, I would be laid out at home by a close family member. And I would be buried, say, in an organically decomposing winding sheet, maybe a wicker basket. I've literally even considered purchasing property in such a way where, like, in perpetuity, the land, once my family members are dead and so on, can go to rewilding projects, and in which my corpse was allowed to be buried at home with a home burial. I'm still kind of looking into the legalities in Ireland around that sort of thing. But that would be the ideal, is a totally natural backyard burial. As such, once I'm dead, I'm going to be in various stages of decomposition. I also do this whole, like, meditative, I think of it as meditative kind of practice around, I guess you could call it embodiment, where I lie down, I guess in like yoga death pose kind of thing, or corpse pose. But I basically lie down on the ground and imagine things like corvids or scavengers eating very specific parts of me. So, like, sometimes I'll think of it as, like, my cheek and, like, where they're going from there, or other times, like, I might think of them eating my brain if my skull is cracked, or I might think of them as starting with a leg, or I've often pictured what it must be like to have, like, the pelvis or soft tissues of the belly being eaten first, or how that would look if it was also decomposing and being eaten. I have no idea how anyone's going to receive that information, but the point for me is making the reality of death as impersonal as nature is. I'm really fascinated by what it would look like if, as I'm developing skin slip, you know, plants start to burst forth. I'm in love with the Hush Tarot for a reason, let's put it that way. So, if someone were to summon me, they need to be well prepared for the fact that, depending on my spirit's or whatever mood that day, I may show up in whatever stage of decomposition I'm in, if it's early on enough, or whatever stage of decomposition I've ever been in, because if I can show up as my 16-year-old self, visually and personality-wise, then I can also show up as, you know, the point at which skin slip had only just started, or the point at which, you know, I've, like, certain things that officially liquefied. Like, you need to be ready to see a partially decomposing thing standing in front of you talking to you. But also, once I'm fully dust and no longer corporeal in any fashion, I may choose to show up as that. So you may more just feel my presence rather than see me. And it's kind of, I guess, if you think about it, like by chance or the luck of the draw, but totally up to me and my own prickly, fickle mood. So that would just kind of have to be part and parcel of the deal. I did think through, like, if you're indoors, I probably wouldn't be, like, standing straight in front of you talking to you. Even if I was corporeal in some way, I would be much more likely to be sitting a little bit further off, like across a circle or something, if you drew a circle, if you cast a circle. I'd be on the other side of it from you, and kind of maybe just sort of like sitting and listening or something, or talking, but I'm not too into being into, like, up close and having, like, that kind of conversation. And if it were out of doors, and let's say you had a bonfire or a campfire or something like that, if you think about, like, that kind of circle of seats around a campfire, I'd be, like, across the fire from you. So I might, again, be casually leaning and talking to you. I might look like this, or I might look somewhat decomposed, or I might look 4 years old. It depends. I might not be visible at all, but I'd be across the fire, and even if I were fully embodied, it would be very much a, you get whatever glimpse of me you have through the firelight. Because again, even in my living life right now, I'm not immediately and readily available for all and sundry whenever. I need to be negotiated with. Not because I'm, like, mean. I desperately enjoy being supportive and enthusiastic about my connections. But that's also why I don't have very many of them, because it's taxing. I find that very hard work. I find humans really, really difficult work. So it's like, you know, the people who know me know that I will, like, 100% like just love and support them, but they also know not to like go unnecessarily exhausting me. Like they respect boundaries in that regard, I guess. They know I need rest. So I think I would also be like Ghostwise or whatever, very much a who frickin' disturbs me from my slumber? I couldn't sleep in waking life. I had too many nightmares. Let me sleep now. So the thing about pure of heart, yes, no, meh, I don't really care, because I reserve my right to be fickle and prickly anyway. So even if you are pure of heart, it's like if you're in pure distress, like if this is a crisis situation, I would be much more likely to jump in and be helpful or answer or talk to you. But almost in every scenario, other than those sorts of really dire situations, even if you're someone like I'm, you know, deeply loving towards and so on, I just might not want to. So once I'm dead, I'm like, hey, I gave you a whole lifetime. I'm dead now, okay? Leave me alone. So lastly, I think I've been rambling on for ages, but lastly, it's the words of power or incantations that could be used to summon you. You can either, it's poetry basically, but you can either say some of my poetry, I guess, if you have some of it, or even better, say some of your own. Even if you don't write poetry ever and you just want to come up with like a little rhyming couplet or something, like little silly teeny tiny thing, do that. I love like supporting like moments even of just playfulness creatively in other people that I'm gonna talk to or whatever. I find that really fun. So, you know, a little bit of poetry, even if it's like a silly little nothing little snippet of something, but then end it like the thing that sets it in action. Like if you're summoning me and the thing that literally lets it loose and puts it out there so that I then hear the call, almost like the chiming of a bell, you would need to end it with this phrase, which is on my altar at all times, and I say it on a daily basis. Media vita in morte sumus, or sumus. So, which means, you know, in the midst of life, we are in death. Say that, because I will hear that. I will perk up to that. I hear that phrase every day coming out of my own mouth. So that's how that would work. Okay, that's all I've got for now. I think I yammered on well long enough. Another thing, by the way, I will say that if you wanted to bring into the space is like glittery sensory toys and like childhood stuffies. I've been holding Doggy this whole time because I'm in my sensory cave kind of mood at the moment. So I've got Doggy with me, who's been my best bud since I was 4. And yeah, so that would also work. Anyway, enough of this silliness. I really enjoyed this. I'm actually going to think about it like in more like 100% serious ways as well. But all this, you know, feels very true to me and who I am. A mix of like, oh my goodness, the seriousness of the art, but also like I am a very strange, ridiculous person. I don't know if I communicate that properly on this platform. Yeah, so my stomach's growling. I'm going to go find something for lunch. I guess it must be lunchtime. I have no idea. I'm going to finish my tea and I'm going to go. FYI, if for anyone who didn't see my community posting, there are some fresh things all listed up on the Etsy shop. So if you're interested, the link is in the description. No obligation, of course. And even if you're just curious, go ahead and click the link. You can take a look around. I'm hoping to post more things soon. I'm starting to feel a little bit more like, you know, I'm not 100% satisfied with certain things that I'm currently creating, and I hope they get even better all the time, forever. But yeah, I have ideas, things I'm working on. See if you like anything, and if you don't, or if you're not able at this time, that's fine. Yeah, and that's it. So I hope everyone is doing well, taking care of themselves to the best of their ability, and being kind. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.